Welcome to this planning meeting, Tuesday 7th of October. Please note that the meeting will be recorded. Are there any apologies?
There's apologies, Chair, from Councillors Beattie, Constable, Muirhead and Roseanne Wallace.
The order of business?
As published, Chair.
Are there any declarations of interest? If you can declare them now or when the actual item's coming. Okay.
I will declare an interest on Mount Lothian.
Item 9. Okay. Move on to the minutes of the meeting of 26th of August. Are there any comments? Taken as read. That will take us on now to item 5. Guidance on the role of councillors in pre-application procedures. Report by the Head of Communities and Economy.
Thank you, Chairman. At its meeting in May 2014, the committee were advised of the guidance published by the Commissioner of Ethical Standards in Public Life in Scotland regarding the role of councillors in pre-application process. The guidance clarifies the position with regard to councillors, stating a provisional view on major developments proposals at pre-application stage. The purpose of this report is to advise the committee of the recommended procedures for councillors in the pre-application process. To enable councillors to express an early view on major development, it is proposed to report to the Planning Committee details of formal pre-application consultations by prospective applicants. The reports will outline the proposal, identify the key development plan policies and material considerations, and state a provisional, without prejudice, planning view regarding the principle of development. The committee will then have the opportunity to express a provisional view and raise any comments regarding the proposal. Views and comments expressed by the committee will be entered into the minutes of the meeting and relayed to the applicant and the case officer for consideration. The report also reinforces the current best practice of having a planning officer present with a councillor when they wish to meet an applicant to discuss a major development, whilst recognising that this is not always possible. Comments expressed by elected members are made without prejudice. In determining a subsequent application, the Councillors' Code of Conduct states that councillors are expected to approach the decision-making with an open mind, in the sense that they must have regard to all material considerations and be prepared to change their views if persuaded they should. It is recommended that the committee agrees to the more detailed guidance and extension to the committee procedures. It receives a regular report regarding any formal pre-application consultations by prospective applicants submitted after the 1st of October 2014, and that a formal statement on the guidance is distributed to all members and a copy placed on the Council's website.
Will you just accept the recommendations then? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. The guidance is welcome and quite helpful to us in the aspect. However, it still leaves that big black hole for elected members, where you'll see in 3.6 we talk about the major planning applications. There's a statutory requirement to hold public engagements in them, and in that paragraph it then goes on to tell councillors you can't speak at them. You can't say whether you are vaguely in support or whether you've got concerns or whether you've got worries. If you do so, you'll be debarred. It actually is contrary to everything that this is supposed to do, and that's to see open, honest and accountable local government and decision making. When you're standing at what is required of the applicant, and that's a public meeting in your ward, you're asked or you're expected to go along, quite rightly, and yet you can't present an opinion or say you have any concerns or you actually think something would be good. And I think the public just look at you as though that there's something actually wrong with you. And I still think we should continue to make a noise about this and say quite clearly, when these come along to your constituents, we should be able to say we have concerns about them, we should be able to point out what their concerns are, or indeed, if we support it, we should be able to say we do support this, and here's why we support it, and hear the argument back and forward, because you're missing some of the argument if you're not putting your points. But yet again, the guidance still indicating to us that we can't even speak on the matter. I think it's very, very sad.
Just to clarify, the guidance is in pre-application procedures. Is it in the pre-application procedures only? Is it in major only? Or is it in all? When you go into paragraph 2.3 and you quote from our previous paragraph 7.8, you've got the word major. Development authority might be minded in principle. Does the word major apply to all of this, or is it just particularly being extracted from another document? And is this the procedures for every single application?
Chairman, the advice relates to major developments which are subject to the pre-application consultation process. You must probably can appreciate in terms of all scales of developments, the planning authority gives a lot of pre-application advice, but this guidance only relates to bringing before elected members the major developments. Yeah.
Can you define major?
There's a statutory definition of what constitutes a major development. I know that's been reported to the Planning Committee in the past, so I can email you the details of that. But in terms of scale, we're talking, for example, residential developments of 50 or more dwelling houses, sites of more than 2 hectares. So it depends on the scale of the development, but there's a series of definitions.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing here. There is a clear guidance on what formulates a major application, and that's why there's a pre-application process. I think this is a welcome report, and certainly having the clearer guidance and updated guidance is always useful, but I think the Standards Commission are in danger of once again tying themselves in knots. I mean, we've had them here when they finally at one point did come, and I've heard them at times talking about the fact that elected members are perfectly well to give an opinion if it's not lodged as an application, but the minute it's lodged as an application you can't give an opinion, so overnight you're barred from saying anything. So I think the Standards Commission themselves need to have a real good look at what they're saying and what they're thinking about it, but I think that as far as our own guidance goes, I think we're doing as well as we can.
Thank you, Chair. Just to seek some clarification on this, because my understanding all along has been that, yes, we're not allowed to give a view, to state our opinion, to give the impression that we've made a decision ahead of the determination. But it's always been my understanding that you can express the fact that you have concerns and to state what those concerns are ahead of a determination. Can I get some clarification on that?
Yeah, Chairman, I think this guidance is trying to clarify that insofar as that I think elected members have got to be really careful in stating an exact view on a proposal insofar as, yes, I would definitely vote for that, I would definitely vote against it. That's what it's saying to don't go that far. But it is reasonable for you to say, yes, I have concerns about the transport issues on that scheme, or the number of units, or local residents have raised these issues, can I bring those back to the committee? So you can identify issues, and if there are issues that give you concern yourselves, you can identify them. I think this is just trying to stop you going that extra step and making a firm commitment one way or the other to the decision, because that then happens when you get the application. In terms of coming to the committee with a proposal, again, there's nothing wrong with, at that stage, the council through its committee stating its initial view. For example, if you've got a site which is allocated for housing in the local plan, and then we come to the committee with a report explaining what the pre-application process is all about with terms of that proposal, then it's reasonable for the committee to say, well, provisionally, the council would be for that scheme because it's identified in the local plan. So it is trying to give applicants a bit of security, because there is obviously a big commitment in terms of time and a financial commitment for them to progress schemes to a next level in terms of working up designs and transport assessments. So it's trying to enable the council to give them some comfort, but without prejudicing the actual final judgment of the application.
Is the committee happy with that explanation?